Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Quality Shot Boxing. I'm Ali, and in today's video we'll be talking about the upcoming fight, the trilogy between Tyson the Gypsy King Fury and Derek Delboy Chisora. But before we get into the video, guys, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe down below. Now, I'm just going to first start this video by saying that, contrary to what the majority of the boxing world believe, I think this fight is more positive than negative. I think this is a much a better anticipated fight than what people are making out to be, on the following basis. I believe that over the year, without a doubt, everyone knows that Tyson Fury is well deserved up there at the top of the heavyweight division, the number one guy to beat. But I think in Chisora's defense, over the years, he's aged, like the saying goes, you age like fine wine. And I think that Chisora has aged tremendously. I mean, he's fought some very decent fights, such as the Usyk fight, and he's pushed Usyk quite far in Usyk's heavyweight fight with him. So I think that Chisora has proved himself. He is not necessarily a down and out fighter that people were saying years ago. I mean, during his heyday when he fought Vitaly Klitschko, and even after that when he fought David Haye, people thought that's the downfall of Derek, the start of the beginning of the end for Derek Chisora. But I disagree. I think over the past few years, Derek Chisora has proved himself to be a decent fighter, and he's been involved in some very decent heavyweight scraps. I mean, when he fought Dillian Whyte like quite fairly recently, maybe a couple of years back, if I'm not mistaken, even though Dillian Whyte at that time was the number one ranked heavyweight contender, he was the WBC number one ranked fighter for like over 1,000 days. So yet when they fought, Derek Chisora still gave him a very tough fight. So I think for someone of Derek Chisora's caliber, the experience carries him well enough. The experience that he has gained throughout the years, throughout his fights, will enable him to put up somewhat of a fight. Will not necessarily make him a complete down and out challenge like we've seen in other fights, such as the Wilder Helenius fight. I mean, we saw that fight ended very quickly, and a fighter of Wilder's caliber shouldn't have necessarily been fighting someone like Helenius, even though Helenius proves himself to be a decent fighter in his Kaunaki fights. But that caliber of fighters, the gulf, what I'm saying is the gulf in fighters is very much different. And in Fury and Chisora's case, the gulf between both fighters is a hell of a lot smaller than the gulf between, say, Wilder Helenius or Parker Joyce, for example. I mean, I'm getting to the actual fight itself. I mean, most likely, this is the part where I'm going to agree with the majority of the boxing world, whereby I do think that Fury will win this fight. Although the interesting thing about that is that Fury specifically suggested that let's get in the center of the ring, let's just scrap with each other. I mean, we all know Fury's not afraid to do that. He's got the chin for that. But I don't really think that's Fury's style. I mean, Fury is not a brawler the way Chisora is. Chisora is more built for brawler, and he's a far better brawler, not a boxer, a brawler, than Fury. So I think that isn't necessarily going to be the smartest decision that Fury would take. But, yet again, Fury is someone who says something, then does something the complete opposite. Then the next minute, the next second, the next minute. I think they'll start off. I think the way this fight's going to pan out, they're going to start. As standard fights go. They're going to take a few rounds to test each other out. I think Fury is going to establish dominance in the early couple of rounds, maybe the first third, maybe first half of the fight. Once he does that and he tires out Chisora, because Chisora is someone who has a tendency to get tired very quickly, and Fury is not someone who is. Fury is the complete opposite. Fury is not someone who tires out quite quickly. So I think what Fury's plan is going to do is win the first few rounds, maybe the first third or half of the fight. Then subsequently, he may afford to trade with Chisora, although that's going to be very risky against a fighter coming up against a fighter like Derek Chisora. Having said that, I think Fury will have it in him, to stick it on him if need be. And we've seen that when he did it with Deontay Wilder. I mean, the second and third fights, especially the third fight, he stuck it on Wilder. So Fury's not afraid of going for a power hitter. And without a doubt, everyone knows that Deontay Wilder is the hardest hitting boxer in the world, if not then most certainly the hardest hitting heavyweight in the currently in the world heavyweight boxing. So Fury's not afraid of sticking it on, and if they were to act genuinely scrap in the center of the ring, toe to toe, you know, I would back Chisora on this, but I wouldn't say that Fury's completely out of his depths in this one. But I mean, the reason why I say Fury is going to win this fight also is because, you know, they fought on 2 previous occasions, and on both occasions Fury won. I mean, the first fight they both went into the fight with the exact 14-0 records, but Chisora was defending, I think, the British heavyweight title at that time. When he did that, when they had the fight, Fury won that fight unanimously by like a 117 to 100. Well, okay, let's say 17-13, 17-13, then 17-13 or 18-12. So 117 to 30, 117 to 13, 118 12 unanimously. And then the second fight, Fury actually won because Derek Chisora at the end of the 10th round, or at the end of the 9th round, but starting the start of the 10th, basically the 10th round, his Fury retired him. And I think over the years and the opposition that they face, the situations that they face, especially someone like Fury, I think Fury would have it in him to end the fight. I mean, so it's very surprising, like I said, with the Wilder fight, he stuck it on him, and we never thought Fury would do something like this. So I think if Fury starts to feel out of his depth, starts to feel that he can't establish his dominance, I think he'll stick it on Chisora, and he's got the stamina, the endurance. And I would say, and with all due respect to Derek Chisora, I would say that Fury has more of the fortitude to go longer, and he wants this fight more. I think Chisora is someone who is a B-grade fighter. A B-grade fighter in that he's not necessarily the top 3 fighters in the world, but he's in the division just below, whereby he can give them a really tough challenge if he wanted to. I mean, he can mix it in with people like, I mean, to be honest, even with Anthony Joshua, I think after Anthony Joshua recently, I think he'll be able to trouble Joshua. I genuinely believe that Chisora troubled Usyk more than Joshua troubled Usyk. So I think Chisora isn't someone who people should completely write off. And I think, to be honest, I mean, just moving on to the whole criticism that this fight has received for, you know, the lack of interest. And obviously people feel that way. I can't change it. Having said that, I think there needs to be a fight this year for Fury. I mean, he's been inactive for quite a bit of time for heavyweight champion. And I don't think he's had a fight this year, if I'm not mistaken. Has he? I don't think he has. I mean, even if it was this year, it was quite late on. So he needs to have a fight this year. I mean, for a fighter like Fury, having one fight a year is not enough at all. Maybe even 2 fights. But ultimately, he's someone who, I mean, he was meant to fight Joshua in December, but obviously they had their contractual, you know, disputes and disagreements. So I think the next best option was to fight someone like Usyk. Having said that, realistically, that would not have happened because Usyk recently came off his win against Joshua, so he had more time to prepare. So I think the Ruiz fight as well, and the Wilder fight, I mean, there's no point in him fighting Wilder for a 4th time. I mean, we all know what's going to happen. I think so. Wilder's out the equation. Joshua's definitely out the equation. I mean, even if they agreed on the contract, Joshua's definitely out the equation. Usyk is also out of the equation. Ruiz could have been, but he fought Ortiz fairly recently, so I think he may have needed some slight time off. Who knows? So let's just take Ruiz out of the equation. Next option would be the likes of Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce recently had a fight, recently had his knockout victory over Joseph Parker. And I don't think Joe Joyce is at that level yet where he's ready to fight someone like Fury. So I think he's out of the equation. So then White, obviously we understand they fought each other. The next best option was to fight Derek Chisora. And I think in order to have some sort of activity, you know, some sort of last boxing event, you know, to round off the year, I think it's I wouldn't say it's the best decision, but I would say it's an understandable decision, if that makes sense. So people need to differentiate between that, in that just because the fight's not interesting, you know, you may not enjoy it or you may not like it. There are other clear fighters, which I agree with. There are other fighters that Fury could have fought, other much better fighters and much better fights. But if that's not the case, there needs to be some sort of filler. And I think Derek Chisora is an excellent filler for this. And who knows, maybe Derek Chisora could cause an upset. I mean, we've seen this, in boxing recently. We've seen, the Ruiz fights. We've seen the Usyk fights. We've seen, I mean, even now, just going off topic, even with the current World Cup going on, we've seen so many sporting upsets, and especially within boxing. Boxing is a sport whereby things can change in a matter of seconds, in a split second, in a split moment. Other sports, even though I mentioned football, they change over like a minute, 2 minutes. Boxing can change in a split second. One single knockout, especially in the heavyweight division, and I've said this time and time again, it can change the outcome of a fight so incredibly quickly. And it's not like Chisora is a completely unknown fighter. Chisora is known as a very powerful puncher, a very powerful hitter, a very powerful brawler. So one punch could potentially change it. Who knows? That's something we have to wait and see. Like I said, I am backing to Tyson Fury, but I do believe that Chisora isn't necessarily someone who's a complete, someone you could easily wash over or pass over. I think he's someone who could potentially pose a threat. And I think Tyson Fury has it in him, especially the intelligence, the boxing IQ, the intelligence that he has to control the fight. But if he's someone who gets carried away, then it could cause his career. If he ends up losing this fight, it could be something that could cause him, significant harm. He could lose that the attention, the draw that he has, the power that he has. He will no longer be the A side. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe down below, and also don't forget to join us for the live watch along. It's going to be me and the new guy who's joined the group. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe down below, guys. And don't forget to tune in for our fight, a live watch along fight on Saturday. Thank you so much, guys.